with people post the event. With me from the community team, I have Dave Dyson and Brett Bowser. They're going to be our moderators for the chat today, but I highly doubt we're going to need any Swift monitoring. But unless there's maybe some kind of spam attack, which would be just too perfect for the event we're hosting today. And with me, we have quite a few people from the abuse team with us. I'm going to start off with introducing Ryan. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, Ryan?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. I'm Ryan. I am a senior abuse analyst on our anti-abuse team, which covers Zendesk Trust and Safety here at Zendesk. I've been with the company about 5 years, and yeah, I kind of live in the world of spam, and I basically what I do and my team does is we identify issues on the platform and then make either fix them ourselves or make suggestions to other product teams to prevent things from reoccurring. So a lot of times we will be the ones in the aftermath of everything where, hey, you just got hit by spam from some new clever avenue, and then we investigate it, try and figure it out, and kind of watch and report on what's going on there. Yeah, it's a job of many hats, but it's been really fun, and I'm hoping to help you guys out just with the basics today, going over some quick, simple actions, and we'll go from there.
and just to kind of dig into what your team does a little deeper, you don't just handle like reactive events where like, oh no, we're having a ton of spam happen, but you also do a lot of proactive work as well in the background, correct?
Correct. Yeah, a lot of time the proactiveness comes from reaction from something happening, but we have a team, a 24/7 team around the clock that looks for new issues or weird behavior patterns or new interesting things that are occurring on our platform, and then going from there.
Can't wait to dig into this with everyone here. Speaking of everyone here, let's make sure we introduce everyone else. Sean, who has, again, the best background ever in one of our events. Would you like to talk a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a Premier support engineer with the Premier team here at Zendesk. I've been with Zendesk 8 or 9 years now, and I became a subject matter expert with email, which, as we all know, if you're involved at email at all, you're going to be dealing with spam from time to time. It is probably the most spam protocol or channel that there is on the internet that I'm aware of. So I've had a lot of experience with working with customers and trying to help them isolate where their spam problems are occurring and what might possibly be done to help resolve them, and as well as going over any best practices.
Awesome. And David, would you like to talk about yourself as well?
Sure. Yeah, I work with Ryan on the abuse prevention team at Zendesk, and we're focused on things like spam, but we're also focused on all Zendesk products and trying to prevent abuse of our products, but also really focused on trying to help our customers not be affected by any sort of misuse of the product or issues related to spam. So we're definitely, we feel your pain, and we're trying to figure out the best ways to help you and to get you.
Thanks, David. And Alex, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Sure. My name is Alex. I'm Ryan's younger brother. No, I'm kidding. I'm just the new addition to the abuse team, abuse analyst over here in Copenhagen. And I'm a subject matter expert for authentication and single sign-on. And probably you might have some questions about that as well, related to spam, of course. But we do understand your pain points, and we're here to help.
I'm sorry, Alex. I think that might be the hardest I've laughed in one of our live events ever. That just crushed me. That was great. And last but not least, Pooja, would you like to talk about yourself as well?
Sure, yeah. Excited to be here at this event, and I partner very closely with all of our subject matter experts here, Ryan, Alex, David, and who leads the team, Sean, like pretty much all of us here, and also partner with our engineering team to make sure that, we have trust and safety baked into our Zendesk platform. Having said that, I'm very excited to, can I get more feedback from the team and understand where the questions are coming from so that we can kind of, make sure we have a roadmap laid out that aligns really well with the, needs of our users and customers.
Awesome. And that's actually a pretty good segue. We just opened up the Q&A section of the event. And during this event, obviously, we expect to get a lot of questions. And the team have let me know beforehand that they want to get those questions from all of our attendees today. Whatever it might be on our topic, we're going to try to answer everything that we get as best we can. We might not be able to answer everything live today, but we will go ahead and publish answers after the event within the Help Center. So like any question that you guys might have on spam or what we're talking about or the presentation, please go ahead and ask it in the Q&A section of the chat. I see Brandon has already hit us with a spicy one to start off the day. Thank you, Brandon, or Brendan, sorry. And then throughout the event, if we do see a question that's really relevant to what we're talking about in the moment, we'll go ahead and pause and address that. But please keep those questions coming because that's what really makes this event special is your ability to kind of ask our experts here anything and everything on the topic we're discussing. With that being said, I'm going to stop talking because I have nothing to share on the topic of spam right now, and I'm going to kick it off to Ryan, who definitely has a lot to share with us today.
Sure, yeah, I'm glad to kick that off. Let me share my snazzy screen. Now, I just want to preface this with I've taken a look at a lot of the attendees and some known names here. Just wanted to really stress that this is going to be some basic information, but ask those questions. We can stop and kind of dig into it a little bit. But for anything like specific or contextually, we'll definitely be asking to open up a ticket or get comments after the event here. Give me just a second. I'm having issues sharing my screen, of course.
Ryan, if you are having an issue sharing your screen, I can go ahead and pull up the presentation and share it for you.
I am okay. There we go. Can you see that? Cool. Okay. So again, it's going to be a lot of basic stuff, but the end part will probably be the most important in terms of what can we do beyond this. But yeah, so we already went through the intro, and then we're just going to kind of dive into what I think is the best way to handle spam. Now, contextually, I know you all have different workflows and different setups, so there might not be one answer to all, but hopefully this covers the basics, and then we can kind of go into the other sections here. So the first part to kind of specify what we're talking about here, spam. So specifically, we're just kind of talking about unwanted messages. This can be anywhere from a singular message to a whole bunch of messages, hundreds, or as many as you receive in a short amount of time. These first couple steps, just talking about someone spamming, we're going to kind of cover that first ticket, what to go on there. As we go through these steps, we will just kind of talk about each one and go from there. Basically, what you're going to want to do is first, you're going to want to stop it. So if it's an active spam and you're worried about more coming in, suspending the user is going to be the first step. Identifying the source will be the next step. So where did the ticket come from? Deleting or closing the ticket will be the third, which will get it out of your workflow and let you continue to use Zendesk with no more interference. And then the last one, of course, is just eliminating that from happening again. Going on to that last part is probably the trickiest part of all of this. And yeah, questions will be super contextual, but we'll try and answer them all from here. So it looks like we don't have any questions yet, so I'm just going to keep powering through. So the first thing that happens, spam message comes in. Now, the easiest way that I would say this is you want to suspend it and then kind of investigate first. Suspending the message itself is pretty straightforward. When you receive the ticket, which I should have, so the ticket comes in, and essentially instead of just going ahead and getting rid of the message, you're actually, what I would recommend is actually suspending the user or users and then kind of investigate from there. So instead of like just throwing it away and losing all that information, you're still going to have it. And suspending the user is just right in the middle, the user icon. You can click there, which brings you to the user profile, and then just suspend the user and go from there. Once the ticket is suspended and that spammer can't come through any further, you can kind of just go to ticket events itself and figure out what's the source of this. Where did they come from? Why is this coming through? In the agent workspace, it is just this, the little clock icon on the top right corner. And then from there, you can kind of identify what's going on. Our new interface is kind of nice and easy. It gives you the channel right up here, just under spam in the top left corner. And it gives you all the information that you're looking for there. Yeah. That's important for a couple of reasons. One, it tells you where the spammer is coming from. Two, it allows you to give us that information. If it's something you can't handle, giving us the channel is pretty much the first step in getting help from us. So yeah, once you identify the spam, where it came from, there's kind of a couple options here. Now, marking the ticket as spam is probably one of the easiest ways to handle this. Obviously, that's not available to all users. Specifically, if your agents don't have deletion, marking as spam isn't a great option. Hey, Sean, now you also mentioned a good example of why marking as spam doesn't work. This would be specifically for if there was an external form. Could you talk a little bit on that bit? Sorry to put you on.
Sure, no problem. It's not an uncommon thing for people to have an online form that then sends an email into their Zendesk account to track and log a customer request. And if that is a workflow that you use, you really want to make sure that your agents are not marking any traffic from that online form as spam, because that will help decay the reputation of that your own resource in effect. So there are some steps that you can take to help protect online forums using things like CAPTCHA to make sure that it's not a bot that's creating those tickets. So if your account does become targeted, it's a good idea that your agents know in advance how not to react to them. You only really want to mark something as spam when you can sort of verify that the ticket that you're marking is spam and the subsequent feedback that will give our spam detection tools is the accurate feedback. You want to make sure you're not sort of creating any self-inflicted wounds and decaying the health and reputation of your own host name or IP or online resource or whatever it might be.
Sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
No, not we're getting some questions that are actually related to what we're talking about right now. I wanted to ask this question from Sydney, and I think this is really good for a lot of users to kind of know the impact of this kind of decision. If you're going to suspend a user, Are they still able to interact with you, start a chat, things like that? Like, what is the ramifications of suspending a user because you suspect them or know that they're spamming you?
Sure. So from a very support-specific mindset, you are preventing that ticket from being created. So they are still able to start a chat with you. They are still able to make phone calls with you if they have a phone call or a phone number connected to that user profile, but that ticket won't be created. So that is a really specific situation that you should be aware of when you have it happen. In the terms of singular spam, marking as spam isn't always necessary. Temporarily doing actions is something that we highly recommend. Generally, if you make a spammer not receive any sort of feedback initially, that is going to deter them and likely just go away, at least for the interim, while you can figure out what's going on.
I think it's worth pointing out too that many spammers aren't actually using a singular identity. That is an occasional source of spam. That it certainly does happen that way, but a lot of times spammers are using programmatic ways of getting their spam across. Individual users, it might be unwanted or uninvited sort of ticket creation, and that is sort of a form of spam, but it's also it's almost in its own category.
Hey, Sean, can you elaborate a little bit more on programmatic spam?
Well, spammers are tenacious, and they try to distribute their spam to as many users as they possibly can, as quickly as they possibly can, without being detected. So an individual user being marked as either problematic or abusive, or somebody who isn't really interested in your product, they've just singled you out for whatever reason, and they want to interact with you, and you do not want to interact with them, that would be a good example of when you might want to mark that user or suspend that user, so that it can prevent them from opening tickets. So it's using, you don't want them using up your agent resources, things like that. But spammers that use programmatic methods of spam, we've all seen our email inboxes. Sometimes we wake up and we say, oh, that's unusual. We see more spam than we would normally see. That might be indicative of a spam attack that's more programmatic, where they're sending out, they're casting a very wide net, and they're hoping that any portion of it gets through, a small percentage gets through. So there's slightly different tactics there and different sort of motivations on the spammer's part.
Awesome. And I wanted to follow up with this other question that came in that's related to what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
And Gatus asks, and if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, I do apologize. What if the account that is spamming is our customer's request email as well? This week, one of their biggest clients' email was users were suspended, and it caused a bit of a panic. So, and maybe Gatus, you could elaborate that. It sounds like either that account got compromised and started spamming them, or maybe it was a mistake in the spam, and then that account was suspended, and then that caused a lot of headaches between them and their customer.
Or it was being spoofed. If it was an email address, it might have been being spoofed.
Mm-hmm. But could you elaborate on maybe a best practices for that scenario?
Yeah, so from my perspective, I think that temporary suspension is definitely the way to go. Having an active role in blocking it, like you're saying, suspending a user is not great because it's not very apparent. Another temporary solution is to use the block list, which I was going to go over in a little bit. To kind of, again, just temporary block it so those tickets are suspended. So it's not actually creating a ticket and disrupting your flow. And then actively removing it once that has occurred. There's no really good answer there, like what to do if there's a compromised email. It's unfortunate, it happens. And it's hard to do. Now, Sean mentioned one aspect of what if it's an email that's being spoofed? Well, we do have something for email specifically called sender authentication. And sender authentication essentially makes DMARC a hard requirement. DMARC is essentially the authentication method for emails within the email standard. By having that on, you're saying if DMARC fails in any way, do not let it come through. There's some stipulations that is outlined in our article, which I can follow up with. But that's probably going to be one of those first reaction steps that you have to take if you don't already have it on. You essentially want to stop the bleeding first, and then kind of reassess and give yourself some breathing room to really assess the situation, and then come back to it. Spam is interesting in the way that there's no real good way to just like set it and leave it when they get past all of our systems. So that's kind of, any more questions on that, or anything I didn't cover?
No, that's it for now on what we were just talking about. We do have a couple more questions coming in, but let's continue and we can go ahead and address those after the presentation.
Yeah, great. So one thing that was mentioned I saw came up in the questions is like, I don't want my agents to have deletion permissions. I don't want to mark as spam because of certain situations. This is really where views and triggers come into play, because you all have very complex setups, or every customer has a different way of looking at things. There's not a good way to address it generally. So what we recommend here is kind of create a review view for admins and macros for agents to kind of handle those tickets. So in the instance that we're talking about, essentially a spam ticket comes in, your agent would use a macro, which would either add a tag to exclude from your normal views and include on this other one. And then admins can kind of go from there and handle it that way. Then the admins will have more control over it, and gives you kind of what you're looking for, in the sense of, I don't want anything deleted. I don't want my agents doing anything. So that's a really good way to handle it. Really hard to tackle this here. But I will make sure there is an article or a follow-up in the next couple of days here, and we'll go from there. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that if you are doing these workarounds, one thing that's very important for spam attacks, or spam happening, is you want to stop those notifications or any sort of feedback that bad actor is sending out. You don't want to give them any feedback. So one thing that you kind of what you should consider is using tags to prevent your normal triggers from firing. So this would essentially be within that macro, it would add a tag to say no notification, or whatever would work for you. And when that's on, all your other triggers that you wouldn't want firing would not fire. Again, there's some articles out there, non-specific ones. I was working on a specific one for this event, didn't get done. I will send that out in the next week or follow up with Devin to make sure it gets out to you guys. And I think that's the best way to kind of handle it for larger accounts and the situations where you're not going to want to use that Marcus spam option. So that kind of covers that. And then going from there, we're kind of talking about what do we do with these tickets that have occurred? Do we want to delete them? Do we want to close them? What's going on there? So really the easiest way to handle them from here would be the manual deletion, just from the UI itself. But another really quick way of handling, which I had shown you here, well, marking as spam, or you could use the delete option, which is just right there in both the user profile or the ticket. Otherwise, what you can actually do is create an automation that can handle it. And essentially what you're doing from there is, sorry. What you're doing from there is you're taking these tickets and you're finding that common string that is occurring over and over again, and then you're either solving or closing. If you close the tickets, it's kind of nice because then you don't have to really worry about those notifications. If you're solving, you just want to make sure that none of your normal solved triggers occur. So like your satisfaction ratings or your auto replies. Again, anytime there's feedback to the spam messages that are going out, either the spammer is accomplishing what's occurring, or you're making someone angry that has received a message that they didn't want in the first place, and now they're receiving more. So just kind of ending that feedback is really important there.
And Ryan, the order of the triggers is important too, right?
Correct. Yeah, so the order of the triggers is very important when you're talking about that no notification tag. I just lost my thought. So if you're making triggers to kind of close out incoming spam, like say the spam attack is still occurring, you can create a trigger trigger to grab those as they come in. And what you're going to want to do there with those triggers is you're going to want to make them above all your other triggers, because, again, you don't want to be giving feedback to those spammers and shutting it down. Basically, once the feedback is stopped, hopefully they'll kind of go away and go from there. In the case of automations, it does matter. Kind of the same thing. You do want it above your other ones. So this can happen before any sort of other automation that you have, because this is kind of, you want this to occur before your normal tickets to occur. Yeah, I can't stress enough, like just closing the ticket is not good enough to deter a spammer. Making sure those notifications don't go out is kind of key to making the spammer stop, or stopping the bleeding while it's occurring, and then going from there. This is obviously not really needed when you're talking about a one-off, two-off kind of thing, but when you do see the larger spam attacks, that's something to definitely keep in mind.
Real quick, I did want to get this question from
Sure.
Leah out. Leah asks, regarding the macro approach, are you referring to triggers that send replies?
Sure. Sorry, I kind of rushed through that. So the macro approach is essentially giving all the tools to your agents so they don't have to deal with triggers. So like spam ticket comes in, your macro is essentially going to either reassign it to a special group or add a ticket. And that's the only action that your agent will have to take, instead of trying to deal with specifically adding a tag or sending it to a certain place. Just like mark as spam as a specific action, your macro would then be that specific action. So it's kind of just optimizing the workflow. The macro isn't 100% necessary. It just simplifies and standardizes what your agents are doing. Sydney, I'll answer your question right off the bat. That's a good one. Does Zendesk have their own spam filter set up? And if so, what do they look like? So yeah, definitely can talk to that in generalistic terms. So we have multiple systems that look for spam and try and stop it as it comes in. The majority of all accounts and traffic comes through email. So we have very extensive setups there that looks for basically the email comes in and it processes a certain way, and it essentially determines if it's a risky message or if it's a good message. From that spam filter, it will determine if it's spam or not and let it come through. As for API and other channels, we do have a generalistic spam filter that is separate from it. And yeah, that's running on every ticket that comes through. But it's not as, because it doesn't have to deal with speaking to other email servers, it's not going to cover as much. Sean, did you have any? Sorry, I'm messing up.
It's a challenging issue because a customer support tool by necessity has to sort of be permissive in what the traffic that comes in and conservative with the traffic that it relays outwards. Yep. So we do recognize that we're in a little bit of a unique position because the nature of customer support is you don't want to inadvertently prohibit traffic from legitimate customers. And sometimes, very unfortunately, even legitimate customers can look like spammers. And of course, spammers, their whole livelihood is looking like legitimate customers. So there's never a perfect science there where we're always going to, no spam filter can possibly be perfect because spam is dynamic. It changes very quickly. And we hope to work towards implementing some features that give individual accounts a little bit more leverage and control over the severity, if not the specifics, the severity of their spam threshold, where the threshold works very well for them and their account. But that is a complicated process, and we want it to include many channels. So certainly Zendesk is always investigating new ways to discover spam and to try to provide individual accounts with as much autonomy as we can. But it is a unique position that any customer support tool finds itself in because of that odd balance that we have to strike between being accepting of traffic and permissive of traffic while also trying to weed out the bad actors. I hope that answers the question.
And just to add on to that, I think Brett and Dave, that's something that we, even in the Zendesk community, run into from time to time, where we see people who we have to kind of gut check and do a lot of manual work to make sure, like, are you real? Are you fake? Are you just, one of our customers who is talking a little bit more odd than usual today? So identifying the man versus machine moments in your spam, it's a tricky tightrope to walk sometimes, and sometimes it can be a really manual process. But I know that we have tools in place that try to relieve the if it is or if it not as best as possible. But sometimes you just got to use your eyes and gut check it and make a decision on that.
And to just further more on the filters itself, I agree with you, Devin. Like there's no silver bullet that's going to stop it all. And unfortunately, it's just how how dealing with online kind of occurs. There's no good way to handle it. Now, beyond our spam filters, we also have things like sensible rate limits, as well as edge, basically protection at the networking level via Cloudflare and some other internal tools as well. Sydney, for your last part, is there a way to prevent emails that are marked as spam automatically? The short answer is no, not completely. If you are seeing a specific email that is occurring that is being marked as spam, add it to your allow list. That's a really easy way to handle it. That will prevent tickets from being marked as spam. If you're seeing a lot of things being marked as spam, something's going wrong with our spam filter. Please write in, let us know. Without you letting us know that something's going wrong, we can't fix it. We try to prevent things from going wrong, but again, it's not 100%, a 1 and 0 sort of thing. So please give us that feedback, and we can go from there.
Well, one other thing I wanted to point out as well is that Zendesk is always interested in developing new integrations with other systems. Recently, we rolled out the Amazon event, the AWS Event Bridge, which allows you to stream events from your account to Data Lake. And at Data Lake, you can perform all sorts of various functions, spam detection, malware detection. So you can set things up in your account that allow you and give you a little bit of autonomy. It doesn't stop the inbound flow of traffic, but allows you to be reactive to various trends that you're seeing in the data that's coming from your account more quickly. And that's the future ultimately of all these type systems, is better levels of integration and higher, faster reactivity.
Speaking of reactivity, so what do you do when spam is overwhelming? We realize there's situations, and again, I saw a few of you have on the attendee list that had to deal with this, just completely overwhelmed. There's no good option for you at this point, unfortunately. There's really two options. Turning off anyone can submit tickets temporarily, or adding an asterisk to the block list, or just the domains to the block list itself. Both of these options can be found under Admin Settings Customers. For the block list, it's just a text field. Dropping the asterisks in there for everything is a really good way to just, again, stop that bleeding, wait for it to stop, and then go from there. This is kind of the nuclear option, not great, but if you're being so overwhelmed and you're not sure what to do, then this is a great way to still receive those tickets in your suspended tickets queue. So you're not going to lose anything, but it's not going to create those notifications, and it's not going to give spammers the feedback that they're looking for. One step further from that is, if you don't even want to receive the suspended tickets, you can actually turn off anyone can submit tickets. Again, on the bigger accounts, this might not be an option, but again, stopping that flow from overfilling your views and giving that feedback, stopping that first and foremost is key to making spam attacks stop, essentially.
And if you find yourselves in this situation and you have to take one of these steps, please feel free to reach out to us anytime to say, hey, I've run into this. There are ways that we can help you tune your individual account to prevent or make it very difficult for this kind of activity to continue. Everyone's setup is different, and so we would want to work with you individually, but partly we're hoping that those of you attending will give us feedback for when you've had frustrations like this, if you're having current problems. And again, we're very willing to try to work with you directly to try to solve those and make this smoother for you.
One thing I wanted to quickly clarify for everyone here, when you say give us that feedback when you are getting attacked, or let us know when this is impacting you, what are some of the routes that our users should be going ahead and doing that? Sure.
I will say this, and I hope I don't regret this, but please, if it's this bad where you are jumping on the block list or turning off anyone can submit tickets, like it's so disrupting to what you're doing that you can't even use Zendesk anymore, write directly to abuse@zendesk.com. That's going to get to my team, our team directly, the abuse analyst. And like David was saying, we can do things instead of just like giving you these options, which many of you already know. We're going to at least be able to identify exactly what's going on and potentially take steps to stop it right away. Now, the big caveat there is we are not as big as advocacy, so we try really hard to give you a quick turnaround. But we're just not a really, really big team. We are an engineering team, not set up for a mass amount of support tickets. So we'll do our best to help you as fast as we can. But really, that's kind of where that block list and stopping the pain while it's happening is going to be what we're going to recommend as a first step, regardless, and something just that you can kind of take action on too.
I wanted to point out also that it's not just stopping the pain, it's also disincentivizing the spammers. Quite regularly when you are under a large spam attack, they're also checking to make sure that their spam is being effective. Every now and then, I don't want to reveal too much about spamming tactics here, but disincentivizing the spammers is a large part of what we try to do also.
And the experiences that you're having, it's really good feedback for our product team, so we can help prioritize decisions about hey, let's set up a way to deal with this particular aspect of dealing with spammy tickets. So we're always looking for that kind of feedback, because that really is something that the product teams listen to and helps drive those decisions.
I would say it's incredibly important. As much as we as an anti-abuse team tries to drive things without your feedback, it's not going to be done with any sort of urgency. So please, anytime you can, give us that feedback, and we'll do our best to champion it. My slide is out of. So we talked about closing the ticket. One thing you can also do is delete the ticket. A lot of times when we're talking about these big spam attacks, API is going to be the only real good way to handle getting rid of these outside of the automation itself. So automation is pretty much like your easy first step, where you can close the ticket. If you're trying to delete it, marking as spam from there, or it's delete many as well via the API is going to be a really good way to handle these. If you're not great with the API, there are some apps out there that can marketplace apps that can help you. GDPR search and destroy, Shredder, bulk delete, just to name a few, which will be able to help you. And yeah, if you're still running into issues, please just let us know. A lot of times our advocates will be able to answer a lot of those deletion questions. But if there's something that you're really running into, please don't hesitate to reach out. Okay, so we kind of talked about spam coming in and what to do with it then. Preventing future spam. One of the first things that I would say, if you have an external web form, make sure it's protected. CAPTCHA is a lot of what we rely on the help center. If you have an external one, adding CAPTCHA is a really great way to stop it. There's a lot of situations where that's not going to work. So don't just take CAPTCHA as the only thing. Adding rate limits, adding tokens, rate limits to the account either or the page itself. A couple messages per hour from an IP or whatever is sensible to you, depending on traffic, is really something that I would recommend. Tokenizing your requests, so spammers can't replay your form over and over again, is a great thing to tackle. And another thing, if you do have like Cloudflare or any sort of bot management tools, this is really, I would stress that this is going to be a major point of pain for you. So try and make sure that that's covered sufficiently. There's a lot you can do there. If you have any questions or anything, please write into us. We can kind of handle that. But this is the main source of spam. Anytime you're revealing your account for incoming messages, just make sure you have a complete protection on it. Now, the next thing beyond a good defense is kind of being offensive with this. So reporting it. So any spam that comes in, I can't stress enough how if you're able to, report the IP that comes in, report any links that come in to the source, the people who provide them. By doing this, you're not only preventing them from reoccurring, but you're also giving more feedback to the the suppliers of their bad acting, so they know something is up as well. There's no way to completely shut down a spammer, but if you can attack them at the source and kind of block it, that's a really great way to handle it. And more on letting us know, please, anytime spam occurs or something's not working right, let us know. Of the spam attacks that have occurred, we rarely receive feedback of spam occurring. So please write in either to us directly, abuse@zendesk.com, or just get it to advocacy or your account manager. Let us know what's going on and give us as much information as you can to give us a leg up so we can help you as fast as possible. One really important part of this, and we've kind of talked about this several times in this, is make sure you let us know how this is affecting you. If a spam attack affects your view of how you view Zendesk products, we want to know that explicitly. Same with the time spent dealing. And if there's feedback on what you think would be a good solution, we're definitely open to hearing that. And the more feedback and the more ideas that we have, the more we have to work with it. Oh no, my video. Sorry.
So it's okay.
While we had a break here, there's a question in the chat that I'm not quite sure how to answer. Maybe somebody else here does, about Zendesk Gather Pro.
Asks, how can we filter better on Zendesk Gather Pro rather than the Zendesk ticket, since they do not have the options to add tags?
That's a great question. Are you speaking on the moderation queue itself, Jim?
We'll let Jim kind of flesh out that one, and that might be one that we might have to answer offline as well after the event.
Yeah.
I think just very basic touching base on Gather. We realize there's a lot more moderation tools that can happen. If you have something specific that you're looking for, like being able to filter on tags, again, let us know. We are driven by customer feedback. So that's probably going to be the best answer I can give you there. Cool. So we kind of talked about informing us and all that. Other preventative actions that you can take are 2 EAPs that we have occurring. Now, I'm going to preface this with both EAPs are very contextual, but I want to at least let you know they exist. The first one is disabling unauthenticated requests. What this is the request endpoint is actually open, so you can send out unauthenticated requests. We have an EAP, which is an early access program, which allows you to essentially turn that off while leaving your account open. So anonymous users or unregistered users would still be able to write into you, but the request endpoint would no longer be open. Now, the big thing here is that this will break your web widget if it does turn on. What we would recommend there is looking into our web SDK as a workaround for that. But yeah, it is available, and yeah, we have a forum as well, which I will send out after this webinar. And then the other one is the email spam filter beta. So Sydney, I believe you kind of touched base on this, turning off, Marcus spam. Again, we don't really have the option to turn off Marcus spam, but we do have it's a long-running spam filter on the email channel, which predominantly handles Marcus spam. That's available. So if you're getting a lot of false positives, one, write in, but two, if you want to try something that is a little bit different than what's occurring and a little bit more accurate, that is available. Just write in, and we can kind of go through that with you. And again, feedback is so important. I can't stress enough. If spam hurts, if the spam filtering is not working correctly, please let us know. Without that feedback, without even if it's just, hey, I don't like XYZ. Like, if you let us know, we're going to be able to take action on that. Without that feedback, there's nothing we can do in the sense of driving change at a priority manner. So please give us as much feedback as you can. We want to hear it. Now, I have an email spam event at zendesk.com. Please just send it there if there's anything specific that you have now. I'll be watching that till the end of May. Otherwise, abuse@zendesk.com is another one that will reach us directly. Another great avenue, if you have an account manager, make sure they know what's up. They're great champions for you, and they will make sure you're getting heard. And then last but not least, we have the community. We have a product feedback forum. That's a great place to put out your ideas and essentially drive that priority. If there's a lot of upvotes, we're going to pay more attention to that. So Devin, do you kind of want to speak to that? Like, how does that work on community? Give us more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When it comes to any kind of like improvements that we're going to make on products or product practices, definitely want to hear that feedback in the feedback forums. We're actually looking into making sure that we're being a little bit more responsive and being a little bit more forthcoming in terms of feedback right now internally. We can't say a lot on what that's going to look like in the near future, but I can say that if you post something in the feedback forums, we're definitely going to be sharing that with the product team. And the more traction, the more engagement on certain requests in terms of upvotes and in terms of people posting their own feedback on things, definitely is a really great indicator that this is something we should probably be talking about internally. This is something that we should probably be addressing. So yeah, absolutely. Zendesk feedback forums, create a new topic, explain how it's impacting you, explain what you'd like to see changed, and we'll take it from there.
Great. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Now, I rambled a lot longer than I expected, but I wanted to open this up. I know a few questions were asked, but does anyone else have any questions that weren't answered, or anything specific that we might be able to answer right now? We'd be glad to do it. Otherwise, if you want to, if it's more involved, or if you want to send an email, that works too. But yeah, just opening it up to see if anyone has anything else.
Amanda had asked a question that I responded to in the chat, and I wanted to respond publicly as well. She asked, what about when it's the other way around? What if our traffic, our outbound traffic, is being routed to their end users' spam folders? And that is something we always need to look at individually. We have an infrastructure team that is always maintaining the health and reputation of our sending hosts and sending IPs. But things do pop up, things do go wrong from time to time, and we always want to know about those. But because the process of relaying email is very, very complicated and involves a lot, and the spam filters on the other end are things that we have no visibility into whatsoever, they're kept secretive for a very, very good reason. We have to look at the individual traffic, and then we can make some educated guesses as to what might be causing that particular issue. But that's one that requires a more specific look rather than a generalized response.
Doesn't seem like we're getting any more questions. I know we did answer quite a bit during the event.
Great.
So that might be on the case. What I'm going to be doing is we're going to leave the chat open for the next 15 or so minutes, just in case anyone's like, oh, wait, I had this one moment and they want to ask, and we'll be going and sharing that with the abuse team. I know we're also about 10 minutes over what our originally scheduled time was, so thanks everyone for sticking around for that extra bit of spam prevention event time. But again, thank you so much to the abuse team for sitting down and talking with us about spam. I think, you know, as you guys were discussing this, like I was thinking, yeah, that hits me too. So this isn't just an internal or an external issue for customers. Like, we in the community deal with spam. We in Zendesk deal with spam. We know everyone hates it. So like, getting feedback on how it's impacting you in a selfish way helps us, because it lets us learn how to deal with it better. And then internally, we can take those changes we made and adapt it to how we handle spam. So please give us that feedback, whether it's in the forums, whether it's in the directly emailing abuse, and we'll go ahead and get that email link or that email address in the chat as well. But keep sharing with us so that way we can make these improvements for the long term. So, Brad. Oscar season. But yeah, thanks everyone for attending. That's going to be it for us. And if there's anything else we can do for you in regards to this, the community is always available for you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.